The 7 money laws in the Bible that 90% of Christians ignore. 90% of people watching this are unknowingly breaking spiritual laws that are keeping them broke. And no, I'm not talking about luck or the stock market. I'm talking about 7 ancient money laws hidden in the Bible that almost every Christian ignores. If you follow these, your entire financial reality changes. If you ignore them, you'll keep wondering why you're working 40 hours a week and still have 14 cents in your savings account. Most people fail because they stop at law number 3, but if you don't stay until law number 7, none of the others will actually work. Law number 7 is the master key, and it's the exact opposite of what your bank tells you to do. Law number 1, the ownership illusion, the great handover. Most of us walk around every day carrying an invisible weight that was never meant for our shoulders. We call it responsibility, but in reality, it's owner stress. Think about the last time a heavy storm rolled through your neighborhood. If you own that car sitting in the driveway, your heart rate spikes with every thud of hail. If you own the business, a headline about a looming recession isn't just news, it's a personal threat to your survival. When you believe you are the ultimate owner, every market dip feels like a personal failure, and every loss feels like a piece of your identity is being stripped away. The biblical shift, relinquishing the title. The antidote to this paralysis isn't better planning, it's a complete identity shift. We have to look at Psalm 24:1. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world, and all who live in it. If God owns the everything, that leaves exactly 0% for you to own. You aren't the CEO, you are the chief operating officer. You aren't the landlord, you are the property manager. The manager mindset, sleeping through the storm. Imagine I hire you to manage a $10 million portfolio. I give you the keys, the passwords, and the authority to trade. If the market suddenly drops 5%, do you stay up until 3 a.m. pacing the floor? Do you lose your hair over the volatility? No, because it's not your money. Your job is simply to manage the assets according to my instructions and then report back to me. You are the steward. A steward's only requirement is to be faithful, not to control the global economy. When you realize that the owner has infinite resources and a perfect track record, your job description changes from worrying to executing. The retention strategy, the wallet ritual. I want you to stop reading for a second and physically take your wallet or purse out. Hold it in your hand. Feel the weight of the leather, the plastic, and the paper. Now, look at it and say these words out loud. I am the manager, not the owner. This belongs to him. I just handle the distribution. Do you feel that slight exhale? That's the owner's stress leaving your body. When you realize you are just the steward of God's assets, you gain the emotional margin necessary to make clear-headed, objective investment decisions. You stop reacting out of fear and start acting out of purpose. Law number 2, the flow state, the mystery of generosity. Most people view money as a static reservoir, a pool of resources they need to guard, fence in, and protect at all costs. But the reality of the kingdom is that money isn't a pool, it's a river. If it stops moving, it doesn't just sit there, it begins to rot. The hook, the grip of death. Most investors grip their money so tightly that they've effectively cut off the circulation. They think that by clutching their assets, they are securing their future. In reality, clutching is the fastest way to lose what you have. When you squeeze a handful of sand, what happens? It leaks through your fingers. When you squeeze a bird to keep it from flying away, you crush it. Money operates under the same law of physics. The tighter the grip, the higher the tension. The higher the tension, the lower the wisdom. I'm going to show you why a closed fist is actually a financial death sentence. The geography of life, a tale of two seas. To understand the flow state, we have to look at the geography of Israel. There are 2 major bodies of water fed by the Jordan River, and they couldn't be more different. The Sea of Galilee. This sea is vibrant and teeming with life. It's full of fish, surrounded by lush vegetation, and provides for the entire region. Why? Because the Jordan River flows in at the north and flows out at the south. It is a conduit. It receives, and it gives. Because of that flow state, it remains fresh and life-giving. The Dead Sea, the Jordan River also flows into the Dead Sea, but there is no outlet. It only receives. It hoards every drop of water and every mineral. Because there is no outflow, the water evaporates, the salt content skyrockets to toxic levels, and nothing can live in it. The lesson: if your bank account is a Dead Sea where money comes in but never goes out to bless others, your financial spirit will eventually become stagnant, salty, and lifeless. The visual, closed fist versus open palm, visualize two different ways to hold your wealth. The closed fist, motive, fear and self-preservation. Result: nothing can get out, but nothing can get in. Psychology, scarcity. There isn't enough. The open palm. Motive, faith and stewardship. Result: money flows out to the needy, but the hand is ready to receive more. Psychology, abundance. My source is infinite. When you live with an open palm, you become a distribution center for the kingdom. If God can get money through you, He will get more money to you. You become a pipe, not a bucket. A bucket has a limit. A pipe can move an infinite amount of volume as long as the exit stays clear. The content, the velocity of wealth. You cannot handle more until you have mastered now. The secret of Paul and the science of the brain. To understand the paradox, we have to look at Philippians 4:11. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. Notice the word learned. Contentment isn't a personality trait you're born with, it's a muscle you build. Paul wrote this from a literal prison cell, yet he was more wealthy in spirit than the guards watching him. Generosity isn't just a nice thing to do or a moral obligation, it is a functional investment strategy. It keeps you unattached to the asset, allowing you to make objective decisions. When you aren't in love with the money because you're busy giving it away, you don't panic when the market fluctuates. You stay in the flow state. You become the Galilee of the financial world, full of life, full of movement, and perpetually replenished. Law number 3, the contentment paradox, the foundation of growth. We often think that more money will solve our character gaps, but the reality is that money is simply a magnifier. If you are anxious with $1,000, you will be paralyzed with $1 million. If you are ungrateful with a modest home, you'll be miserable in a mansion once the new house smell wears off. The "I'll be happy when" trap. The most dangerous phrase in finance is, "I'll finally be happy when ... when I hit 6 figures. ... when the mortgage is when the market returns to its all-time high." This is a financial death sentence. If you cannot manage the emotions of your current portfolio, why would the Creator or the market trust you with a larger one? Wealth doesn't create contentment. Contentment creates the capacity for wealth. The psychology, hedonic adaptation. Modern science calls the opposite of contentment hedonic adaptation. It's the tendency of humans to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events. You buy the dream car. Your happiness set point spikes, but within 3 months, it's just the car. If your strategy for happiness is more, you are on a treadmill that never ends. Contentment is the only way to step off the treadmill and actually enjoy the scenery. When you are content, you make rational investment decisions rather than desperate ones. Perspective shift. The comparison trap focuses on what is missing, while contentment focuses on what is already present. The comparison mindset makes decisions from envy and fear of missing out, but contentment makes decisions based on purpose and values. Comparison believes more possessions bring security, while contentment trusts wise stewardship. Comparison leads to emotional instability, while contentment supports steady, long-term growth. I want to challenge you right now. We're going to do a gratitude audit. Close your eyes or look at your hands for the next 30 seconds. I want you to name 3 things in your financial life right now that you are genuinely thankful for. Maybe it's the fact that you have a roof over your head. Maybe it's the $50 you managed to save this month. Maybe it's just the fact that you have the internet access and the mental capacity to learn these laws. Stop, acknowledge them, say thank you. By doing this, you aren't just being nice, you've just rewired your brain to move out of the survival, fear center and into the executive, logic center. You've just become a better investor. LAW number 4, the surety trap, the silent wealth killer. We live in a world that runs on buy now, pay later. We've been conditioned to believe that debt is a tool, a lever, or even a necessity for growth. But the kingdom perspective on debt isn't just be careful, it is a flashing red warning sign. Debt isn't just a financial choice, it's a spiritual tether. The great Christian blind spot. This is the law that 99% of modern believers break every single day without a second thought. We talk about stewardship, we talk about generosity, and then we sign our names to 30-year chains. We've normalized the very thing the scriptures warn against. Debt is the silent killer of wealth because it doesn't just take your money, it takes your options. It steals your ability to say yes to God because you've already said yes to the bank. The Hebrew reality of slavery. When we read Proverbs 22:7, we often treat it as a metaphor. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. In the original Hebrew, the word for slave or servant is abd. This isn't just a casual worker, it implies a loss of autonomy. When you are in debt, you are no longer the primary decision maker for your life. Think about it. Who do you actually work for on Monday morning? If you have a massive mortgage, you work for the bank. If you have a car payment, you work for the finance company. If you have credit card debt, you work for the credit card issuer. You are spending your most valuable asset, your time, to pay for a past version of yourself. Debt is literally borrowing from your future self to pay for a present you can't afford. The math of theft versus the math of growth. Most people don't realize that interest is a double-edged sword that is currently cutting them open. Compound interest is either the wind at your back or a wall in your face. Debt pulls wealth away from you, while investing pushes wealth toward you. Debt usually carries high interest rates that grow quickly, but investing grows more steadily over time. With debt, time works against you every moment, while investing allows time to work in your favor. Debt places you in a position of obligation, while investing puts you in a position of stewardship and control. If you carry $10,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest, you aren't just owing $10,000. You are effectively lighting $2,000 a year on fire. That's $2,000 that could have been invested. Over 30 years at 8% growth, that single year of interest could have been worth over $20,000 in retirement. Debt doesn't just steal the principal, it steals the compounded future of that money. Breaking the surety. The Bible calls this surety, taking on an obligation for a future you cannot control. The strategy to break free is simple but radical. Starve the debt, feed the future. 1. Stop the bleeding. You cannot dig your way out of a hole if you are still using the shovel. Cut the cards, close the lines of credit. The Liberty mindset. View every dollar of debt paid off as a guaranteed return on your investment. If you pay off a 20% credit card, you just got a guaranteed 20% return. You won't find that in the S&P 500. Live below the flow. Most people live at or above their means. The steward lives below their means, so they have margin to move when God says go. True wealth isn't how much you earn. It's how much of your life you actually own. Law number 5, the diligence multiplier, the anti-lottery mindset. We live in a culture obsessed with the overnight success. We want the viral trade, the moon crypto coin, and the miraculous windfall. We pray for a financial breakthrough while we're sitting on the couch. But the kingdom doesn't operate on luck, it operates on diligence. The sky is empty, Stop looking for a blessing to fall from the sky and start looking at your calendar. Most people are waiting for a divine lightning bolt to strike their bank account. They want the harvest without the planting. But God isn't a cosmic slot machine, He is a master gardener. If you want the multiplier, you have to provide the base number. 0 multiplied by a billion is still 0. The physics of wealth, the blueprint for this is found in Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Notice the two paths, diligence and haste, haste. This is the get-rich-quick scheme. It's the impulsive investment, the tip from a friend, and the desire to skip the process. The Bible says this leads surely to poverty. Why? Because you haven't built the character necessary to keep the money once you get it. Diligence. This is the steady, methodical application of skill over time, the work of your hands principle. There is a recurring theme in Scripture. The Lord will bless the work of your hands. This is a conditional promise. If your hands aren't doing anything, if you aren't sharpening your skills, managing your budget, or providing value to the marketplace, there is nothing for God to bless. God doesn't bless vacancy. He blesses activity. Diligence is the multiplier that takes your small, faithful efforts and turns them into a legacy. It's the 1% improvement every single day. The diligence audit. Skill versus luck. The gambler relies on a big break, while the steward relies on small, consistent habits. The gambler acts on emotion and fear of missing out, but the steward follows systems and careful planning. The gambler looks for a quick exit, while the steward focuses on faithfulness over time. Gambling behavior builds fragile wealth, while diligence creates durable wealth. Wealth is a byproduct of value created. If you want to increase your income, you must increase your diligence quotient. You must become so good at what you do that the marketplace cannot ignore you. That is the diligence multiplier in action. The beast-style segue. Don't get comfortable. We've just deconstructed your work ethic, but we are only getting started. We are closing in on the final laws of the series. Listen to me. We are almost at law number 7. If you think law number 5 was a gut check, law number 7 is going to absolutely turn your brain upside down. It's the one law that separates the rich from the wealthy for eternity. But before we get there, we have to talk about law number 6, the multi-generational seed. LAW number 6, the diversification mandate, the wall of protection. In the world of modern finance, we call it risk management. In the kingdom, we call it the mandate. Many people believe that faith means picking one stock, one business, or one sure thing and praying for a miracle. But true biblical wisdom tells us the exact opposite. Faith is not a gamble. It is a strategy of preparation, the 3,000-year-old secret. You've heard the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Most people think that's just common sense advice from a grandmother. But Ecclesiastes 11:2 literally gave us the secret to the modern stock market and resilient wealth over 3,000 years ago. Long before the S&P 500 or index funds existed, the wisest man to ever live laid out the blueprint for global financial stability. The rule of 7 and 8. Let's look at the text. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Notice the specific numbers. Solomon didn't say pick your favorite one. He didn't say trust your gut on that one startup. He gave a mathematical instruction, 7 or even 8. Why multiple streams? If you have one job, you have one point of failure. If that company downsizes, if that industry shifts, or if your boss decides they don't like your tie, your wealth drops to 0 overnight. Relying on a single income stream isn't just risky, it is a violation of biblical wisdom. A steward understands that the world is unpredictable. Disaster, recessions, pandemics, market crash is a guaranteed part of the human experience. Diversification isn't about lack of faith. It's about honoring the reality of a fallen world, the 3 pillars of the mandate. To truly follow law number 6, you have to look at your life through 3 specific lenses. Asset diversification. Don't just hold cash. Don't just hold real estate. Don't just hold stocks. Spread your portion across different asset classes so that when one is red, another is green. Income diversification. Most millionaires have an average of 7 streams of income. This could be a side hustle, rental income, dividends, or royalties. If one stream dries up, the river keeps flowing. Geographic, industry diversification. Solomon says you don't know what disaster may come upon the land. If your entire net worth is tied to one local economy or one specific industry like tech or oil, you are vulnerable. The psychology, the piece of the multi-stream. When you follow the mandate, your owner's stress from law number 1 vanishes. Why? Because you aren't white-knuckling a single thread. You are standing on a platform supported by 8 different pillars. If one cracks, the platform stays level. This allows you to stay in the flow state law number 2 and maintain your contentment law number 3 because your survival isn't tied to a single ticker symbol. The final bridge. We are at the edge of the cliff. We have covered ownership, flow, contentment, debt, and diligence. You now have the tools to build a fortress. But a fortress without a purpose is just a fancy prison. Are you ready? We have reached law number 7, the eternal law. This is the one I warned you about. This is the law that makes the world's billionaires look like paupers. It's the law that changes how you view every single dollar for the rest of your life. Would you like me to reveal the final law number 7? Law number 7, the eternal law, the heaven-bound hedge. We have reached the summit. We've deconstructed ownership, mastered the flow, killed debt, and diversified our earthly stores. But if you stop at law number 6, you are simply a well-organized mortal. Law number 7 is the master key that converts temporary currency into an asset that can never be devalued, inflated, or stolen. The billionaire's blind spot. Imagine a billionaire who spends his entire life building a coastal mansion, only to realize on moving day that the entire coastline is sinking into the ocean. He was the richest man on a sinking ship. Most people, even successful investors, are playing a 40-year game. Some are playing a 100-year game for their grandkids. But the steward plays a 10,000-year game. If your return on investment ends when your heart stops beating, you haven't made a profit, you've made a mistake. I'm going to show you how to send your money ahead so it's waiting for you when you arrive. The currency conversion. The core of law number 7 is found in Matthew 6:19-20. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Jesus wasn't giving a suggestion for a rainy day. He was giving sophisticated arbitrage advice. He was saying, the earthly market is high risk and guaranteed to crash. The heavenly market is zero risk and guaranteed to grow. The concept of sending it ahead. You cannot take your wealth with you, but you can certainly send it ahead of you. How? By investing in the only 2 things on this planet that are eternal, the Word of God and the souls of people. When you invest in a child's education, you are investing in an eternal soul. When you fund a well in a village that hears the gospel for the first time, you are converting paper currency into eternal impact. To understand Law 7, consider the time horizon of your investments. An earthly portfolio focuses on assets like stocks, real estate, and gold, while an eternal portfolio invests in people, faith, and compassion. Earthly investments carry risks such as market crash, inflation, and limited time, but eternal impact carries lasting value. Earthly returns grow for decades, while eternal returns extend beyond measure. The psychological shift, investing without anxiety. When you understand law number 7, the market swings of law number 1 no longer terrify you. Why? Because you've already moved your most valuable assets out of the crash zone. If you give $1,000 to feed the hungry or spread the gospel, You haven't lost $1,000. You've invested it in a portfolio that moth and rust cannot touch. You can sleep through a recession because your main account isn't tied to the New York Stock Exchange, it's tied to the throne of God. The final challenge, the legacy audit. I want you to look at your bank statement from the last 30 days. Don't look at the totals, look at the direction. Asterisk how much of that money was spent on things that will be in a landfill in 10 years. How much was sent ahead into the eternal account? The goal? Move from being a consumer to being a kingdom venture capitalist. Start looking for opportunities where your earthly dollars can buy eternal results. The full circle summary. Law number 1. Realize you owe nothing. Law number 2. Keep the money flowing. Law number 3. Be grateful for what you have now. Law number 4. Kill the debt that enslaves you. Law number 5. Work with skill and diligence. Law number 6. Spread your risk across 7 or 8 ventures. Law number 7. Convert your profit into eternal impact. Wealth isn't about the size of your bank account. It's about the condition of your heart and the direction of your impact. If you apply these 7 laws, you won't just become rich. The world is full of miserable rich people. You will become wealthy in the truest sense of the word. You will have a peace that the stock market can't give and a purpose that a recession can't take away. The great handover starts the moment you open your hands. You were never meant to carry the weight of ownership. You were designed for the joy of stewardship. Now, go and manage well. God bless, and to God be the glory forevermore.